What's going on, guys? This is Yes, I Read That, and today I am reviewing Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Robert M. Pirsig. This book is definitely very different from anything I've reviewed so far. So in this book, two stories are mingled. There's the outer general story of the author having a motorcycle trip with his son and another couple, the Sutherland family. And there's the deeper story where when traveling and riding his motorcycle, he discusses and he reflects on philosophical ideas. Mainly he reflects on the ideas of a person called Phaedrus in the third person. Later it turns out that the author is actually schizophrenic, and this Phaedrus character is also the author. So this is a philosophic book, and it is called An Inquiry into Values. It reflects on the values of our society and on some of our culture, and I think that was very interesting. So it is definitely very different from what I've reviewed so far, but I want to kind of mix it up sometimes and just provide different ideas and things. So what I liked about this book a lot was that the two mingled stories, so these stories were intertwined. We kind of saw a glimpse of the normal motorcycle ride and trip with his son, and then we saw some of his philosophical ideas while riding again. It worked out pretty well, actually. I thought it was pretty good. The concept of starting with motorcycle maintenance and getting into the whole philosophy aspect was very smooth. But what I didn't really like about it was at times it felt like the outer story was not important at all and actually kind of distracting, because you had these chains of thought and suddenly you were completely ripped out of this chain and you were suddenly in the setting of the normal world again and had this motorcycle trip. And it could kind of distract you. It certainly distracted me sometimes. Let's talk about the characters a bit. The main characters are the author and Phaedrus, who are, well, the same person, but as he is schizophrenic, he thinks they're two different persons. The author is on a motorcycle trip with his son, Chris, his young son, and in the beginning they are accompanied by another couple, the Sutherlands. Now, John Sutherland does not enjoy motorcycle maintenance, which is why the author starts talking about it and starts talking more about the general concept and why people like it and don't like it. And that's where the philosophic ideas start. The philosophic ideas are very interesting. It starts by talking about the rift between the technological and the spiritual thinking, or people who are rather technological oriented or spiritual oriented. He starts splitting this up into a romantic thinking and classical thinking, but this is all pretty hard to explain if you haven't read the book. If you care about these ideas, you should really read the book. Later he goes on to discuss the ideas of this Phaedrus character a lot more in depth. He discusses a lot of very interesting ideas, especially about the system we live in. Sometimes these ideas are delivered in single sentences that kind of throw you off, because it is very easy to see how true these sentences are, but seeing it spelled out like that is still kind of scary and reveals a truth about our society that you may not have thought about before. One example for me was some insight on the educational system, how he thought it should work and how it actually works, because Phaedrus is actually a teacher on a college and he teaches technical writing. So at some point in the trip, the Sutherland couple actually has to head home, so they split and the author continues the motorcycle trip with his son. At this point he starts to talk a lot more about Phaedrus and we get a lot more insight on him. We understand that he is schizophrenic as well, so we finally see the whole picture. Phaedrus starts to become engrossed with the term quality in writing, because, as I said, he teaches technical writing. Later he starts to become engrossed with the term quality in general a lot more. In the rest of the book, the term quality is discussed a whole lot. We get some ties between Eastern and Western philosophy, When Phaedrus actually realizes that this is a very interesting topic, he wants to write a thesis on it. He tries to convince some professors to allow him in Chicago, and this results in a conflict with these professors. And I thought it was actually very interesting to read about his conflicts and how he opposes the teaching body in this university. The last aspect of the book is covering Greek philosophy a lot. At this point, the author's son Chris doesn't like the trip anymore because the author is always quiet, thinking, and not doing anything anymore. At this point, it was also for me kind of starting to get a bit uncomfortable because there's a lot of ideas that you've never heard about, and honestly, I didn't get everything anymore. I don't think you can unless you've actually studied philosophy a bit. And in the end, it turns out that Phaedrus' philosophical investigations drive him insane. He is getting therapy at a mental hospital. So Phaedrus in the past gets therapy in a mental hospital. Well, we know that the character, the author who wrote the book, and Phaedrus are the same person. And in the very end of the book, Phaedrus actually starts breaking through again. We finally get confirmation that the author is actually Phaedrus. And his son Chris is actually very happy about this because Phaedrus is a lot more active and not just thinking and analyzing like the author was, the unnamed author. So, what score do I give this book? Overall, I think it was an 8 out of 10. So, if you are into philosophy or just like to question our world, our values, our system, then I think this book can tick a lot of boxes for you. If you don't, honestly, I don't think it's a fit. In the beginning it might be because it's a bit general and it introduces some values, but in the end it just gets very deep into philosophical ideas and it's not a very easy read. So personally I think it would only fit if you're actually interested in questioning our values and finding out more about philosophy. But the book was a huge commercial success, so I don't know, maybe you would still like it. And one thing I want to add is I have no idea about motorcycles, I have no idea about motorcycle maintenance, but that didn't subtract from the book at all. In fact, it kind of makes you want to go on a motorcycle ride and just ride into the country somewhere. But, well, that's it for this review. Tell me what you thought about the book, tell me what you're currently reading. I'm always interested. So, see you in the next one. Bye!